Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive?
Always.
Okay, great. Today we're tackling something that might be holding us back without even realizing it. It's conventional thinking.
Yeah.
You know, it's like those well-worn paths in our minds that we just automatically follow,
Right.
even if they don't lead to where we really want to go.
I see what you mean.
So to help us break free from these limitations,
Okay.
we're diving into the mind-changing concept, breaking free from conventional thinking.
Interesting.
It's from the Mindful Minutes podcast.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
It's packed with actionable advice, and we're here to break it all down for you.
Awesome.
Think about a time when playing it safe held you back from something you wanted to do.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We've all been there, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's the feeling we're aiming to overcome today.
Makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
the source material uses Steve Jobs as a prime example
Oh, yeah.
of someone who completely rejected conventional thinking.
Makes sense.
Instead of just accepting the limitations of existing technology, he constantly pushed boundaries,
I see.
asking questions like, why does a computer have to be a beige box? And why can't a phone be a powerful computer?
He really did think differently.
And look at the world he created.
It's amazing.
It's mind-blowing how much impact challenging assumptions can have.
Totally agree.
Not just in business, but in any field, really.
Yeah.
So, the Mindful Minutes podcast lays out 4 key principles for breaking free.
Okay.
And I'm curious to hear your take on them.
Yeah, shoot.
They are challenging assumptions, embracing a growth mindset, valuing curiosity, and seeking diverse perspectives.
That's good.
What do you think about those?
Well, each of these principles is like a tool in your toolkit
Oh, like that?
for breaking free.
Okay.
Like, take the example of challenging assumptions.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that what we believe to be true
Yeah.
might not actually be the case. It could be something as simple as questioning why a meeting has to be an hour long
Right.
when you could accomplish the same goal in 30 minutes.
Yeah, why do we always default to an hour?
Exactly.
It reminds me of the saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten.
That's a good one.
You know?
Like that.
And then there's the growth mindset.
Right.
It's the belief that we can always learn and grow,
Yeah,
no matter our age or experience.
that's not that.
Neuroscience even shows that our brains are constantly changing and adapting,
That's right.
forming new connections throughout our lives.
Yeah.
So that feeling of being stuck is often just a mental barrier.
It really is.
I love that. It's so empowering
Yeah.
to know that we're not limited by our past experiences.
Right.
We can always learn new skills, adapt to new situations, and become the best version of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then there's curiosity.
Yeah.
Instead of fearing the unknown, we should embrace it.
I like that.
Ask questions, explore new ideas,
Yeah.
be open to possibilities you might have never considered before.
It's all about that exploration.
Curiosity is like fuel for innovation, wouldn't you say?
I'd say so, yeah.
It's what drives us to explore, to experiment, and to push the boundaries of what's possible.
Totally.
And it's closely tied to the final principle, seeking diverse perspectives.
That's a good one.
What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
If you're surrounded by people who think exactly like you, are you really getting the full picture?
Probably not.
Right. By seeking out diverse viewpoints,
Okay.
whether from different cultures, backgrounds, or areas of expertise,
Yeah,
we challenge our own assumptions and open ourselves up to new ways of seeing the world.
makes sense.
Right.
So the podcast uses Oprah Winfrey as a powerful example of someone who embraced this principle.
Okay.
Instead of conforming to the expectations of what a talk show host should be, she used her platform to amplify diverse voices and stories,
I see.
creating a cultural phenomenon in the process.
That's right.
It really highlights how seeking different perspectives
Yeah,
can lead to incredible impact.
for sure.
But how do we take these high-level principles
Yeah.
and turn them into real action?
Good question.
Well, the Mindful Minutes podcast breaks it down into 6 practical steps
Okay.
that I think are really helpful.
I'm all ears.
What do you think?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so they are: build self-awareness, learn and unlearn, reframe challenges, experiment, practice mindfulness, and surround yourself with innovators.
Okay, I like these.
So let's start with building self-awareness.
Makes sense.
It's like shining a light on those hidden corners of our minds.
Yeah.
You know, those deeply ingrained beliefs that might be holding us back without us even realizing it.
I see what you mean.
So it's like trying to solve a problem without knowing all the pieces of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Self-awareness helps us identify the root causes of our limitations so we can start to address them.
I see.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that leads perfectly into the next step, learning and unlearning.
Okay.
This one might feel a bit counterintuitive.
How so?
Well, why would we want to unlearn things?
Yeah, that's a good question.
But the truth is, knowledge evolves constantly.
Okay.
And what might have been true yesterday might be outdated today.
So it's not about abandoning everything we've learned,
Right.
but about being willing to update our mental software, so to speak.
Exactly.
To recognize that learning is a lifelong process.
Yeah.
And that sometimes letting go of outdated beliefs is just as important as acquiring new information.
I completely agree.
That's a great way to put it.
It's like cleaning out your closet.
Oh, okay.
You get rid of the clothes that no longer fit or serve you to make room for new ones that better suit your current style.
Okay, I love that analogy. It makes the concept of unlearning so much more relatable.
Right.
And speaking of reframing, that's the next step on this journey. It's about shifting our perspective on challenges, viewing them as opportunities for growth,
Right.
rather than roadblocks to success.
So true.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's about recognizing that setbacks are an inevitable part of life,
Yeah,
and that it's not about avoiding them,
right.
but about learning how to navigate them effectively.
I see.
Instead of seeing a challenge as a failure,
Okay.
ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience make me stronger or more resilient?
That's a great point. It's amazing how a simple shift in perspective can completely transform our experience of a situation.
You really can.
Instead of feeling defeated,
Yeah,
you can feel empowered, knowing that every challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow.
exactly. And that brings us to experimentation.
Oh, this one sounds like fun.
It is. It's about stepping outside of your comfort zone,
Okay.
trying new things,
Yeah.
and seeing what works.
I'm curious to hear more about how we can apply this in a practical way.
Well, think about it this way. When was the last time you tried something completely new? Something that scared you a little bit?
Yeah.
It could be anything,
Okay.
from taking a cooking class to starting a blog or pitching a new idea at work.
Right.
The key is to approach it with a sense of curiosity and a willingness to learn,
I see.
even if the experiment doesn't go exactly as planned.
So it's more about the process of exploration and discovery
Yeah.
than about achieving a specific outcome.
Exactly.
I like that a lot.
And remember, every failure is simply an opportunity to learn and iterate.
Right?
It's all part of the growth process.
Okay, I like that.
Now, let's talk about mindfulness.
Okay.
It's become a bit of a buzzword,
Yeah, it has.
but it's incredibly powerful when it comes to breaking free from conventional thinking.
I'm interested to hear your take on this one.
Okay.
How does mindfulness help us challenge those ingrained thought patterns?
Well, mindfulness is about being present in the moment,
Okay.
observing our thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
It helps us become aware of those automatic thought patterns,
Yeah.
those knee-jerk reactions that often stem from conventional thinking.
So instead of getting swept away by those habitual thought patterns,
Right.
we can create space for conscious choice,
Exactly.
for a more considered and intentional
It's
response.
like hitting the pause button on autopilot
I like that.
and choosing a different path.
Okay, makes sense.
And finally, we have the last step,
Okay.
surrounding yourself with innovators.
Ooh, interesting.
This one is all about the power of community and influence.
I'm really interested to hear more about this one.
Okay.
How does our environment influence our ability to break free from conventional thinking?
Think about it this way.
Okay.
If you're constantly surrounded by people who reinforce conventional thinking, it's going to be much harder to break free.
Right.
But if you're surrounded by people who challenge the status quo,
Okay.
who are constantly pushing boundaries and exploring new ideas,
Yeah.
it inspires you to do the same.
It's like that saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Exactly.
If we want to be innovative, we need to surround ourselves with innovators.
I couldn't agree more.
So it's not just about changing our internal thoughts,
Right.
but also about curating our external environment to support this shift in thinking.
Exactly.
This has been such an insightful exploration of these 6 steps.
I agree.
I'm ready for more.
Let's keep going.
Yeah. Welcome back. I'm really excited to dive deeper into the benefits of breaking free from conventional thinking.
Okay.
It's one thing to understand the concept,
Right.
but what does it actually look like in practice?
Yeah, good question.
What can we expect when we start challenging those ingrained thought patterns?
Well, according to the Mindful Minutes podcast,
Okay.
breaking free from conventional thinking can lead to increased creativity, adaptability,
Okay.
and better decision-making.
Those are some serious advantages.
Yeah, they are.
Can you elaborate on those a bit more?
Absolutely. Let's start with creativity.
Okay.
When you break free from conventional thinking,
Yeah.
you open yourself up to a world of possibilities that you might have never even considered before.
I see.
You start to see connections that others miss,
Okay.
and you're more likely to come up with innovative solutions to problems.
It's like you're expanding the canvas of your imagination,
Exactly.
allowing yourself to think outside the box and explore uncharted territory.
I like that.
And then there's adaptability.
Right.
In today's rapidly changing world, being able to adapt quickly to new situations is essential.
That's for sure.
You know, if you're stuck in rigid, conventional ways of thinking,
Yeah,
you're likely to struggle when things don't go according to plan.
that makes sense.
But when you're open to new ideas and perspectives,
Right?
you're more likely to be flexible and resourceful in the face of challenges.
Absolutely.
It's like having a mental Swiss Army knife ready to tackle whatever comes your way. Instead of getting thrown off course, you're able to adjust your approach.
Yeah,
Right.
and find creative solutions.
Exactly. And finally, there's decision making.
Okay.
When you break free from conventional thinking, you're less likely to make decisions based on fear, assumptions, or
Right.
what you've always done in the past. Instead, you're able to approach decisions with a clear mind,
Okay.
considering all the options and choosing the best course of action based on the specific situation.
It's like you're taking the blinders off
I like that.
and seeing the world with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
Which empowers you to make more informed and strategic decisions.
Precisely. Now, the Mindful Minutes podcast also highlights the powerful ripple effects
Okay.
of breaking free from conventional thinking.
Interesting.
They use the example of Malala Yousafzai,
Oh, yeah.
who refused to accept the conventional thinking that girls shouldn't have access to education
Right.
by challenging this deeply ingrained belief.
Yeah.
She sparked a global movement and became a symbol of hope for girls and women around the world. Her story is incredibly inspiring. It really showcases how challenging conventional thinking
Yeah.
can lead to profound societal change.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't always have to be on such a grand scale.
Right.
Even small, everyday acts of challenging conventional thinking can make a difference.
I agree. What do you think?
Well, imagine the impact you could have in your own workplace or community
Okay.
by simply questioning the status quo and suggesting new ways of doing things.
It all starts with those small shifts in perspective.
That's right.
Those moments when we choose to challenge the way things have always been done and ask, what if there's a better way?
Exactly. Now, remember those 6 practical steps we discussed earlier?
Yes, I do.
Let's take a closer look
Okay.
at how we can use those to harness the benefits
Okay.
of breaking free from conventional thinking.
Sounds good.
We started with self-awareness,
Right.
which is like the foundation for this entire process.
It's about recognizing our own biases, assumptions, and limitations.
So we can start to work on them. It's like shining a light on those hidden corners of our minds
Right.
so we can see what's really holding us back.
I see what you mean.
But self-awareness can be challenging.
Yeah, it can be.
How can we develop this crucial skill?
Well, there are many ways to cultivate self-awareness.
Okay.
Journaling is a powerful tool for exploring your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
Simply taking a few minutes each day to reflect on your experiences and notice any patterns or recurring themes can be incredibly insightful.
That's a great tip. It's amazing how much we can learn about ourselves just by paying attention to our own thoughts and feelings.
It really is.
What are some other ways to boost self-awareness?
Well, mindfulness exercises can be incredibly helpful.
Okay.
Even a few minutes of focused breathing
Yeah.
can help you become more present in the moment and aware of your thoughts and feelings.
Right.
Another powerful tool is feedback
Okay.
from trusted friends, family members, or colleagues.
That's a great point. Sometimes we need an outside perspective to help us see ourselves more clearly.
We do.
So once we've developed a good level of self-awareness,
Yeah.
how do we move on to the next step?
Okay.
Learning and unlearning.
This step is all about being a lifelong learner,
Okay.
recognizing that knowledge is constantly evolving and that what might have been true yesterday might be outdated today.
Right.
It's about being willing to challenge your own beliefs,
Okay.
to let go of outdated information,
Yeah.
and to embrace new perspectives.
It's like updating our mental software, isn't it?
Exactly.
Just like we wouldn't want to use an outdated operating system on our computers.
Yeah,
We shouldn't cling to beliefs that no longer serve us.
I agree.
But unlearning can feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it can.
It's like admitting we were wrong before.
Right.
How can we make this process easier?
That's a great point. It's natural to feel resistant to unlearning,
Yeah.
especially if we've held certain beliefs for a long time.
Mm.
One helpful approach is to think of it as expanding your knowledge
Okay.
rather than replacing it.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily throwing out old information,
Mm-hmm.
but rather adding new layers of understanding.
Okay.
It's like building a more nuanced and comprehensive view of the world.
I love that analogy. It takes the pressure off of feeling like we have to completely abandon our previous beliefs.
It does.
Instead, we're simply adding new perspectives and insights to our existing knowledge base.
Exactly.
So once we've embraced the process of learning and unlearning,
Okay.
how do we move on to the next step?
Uh-huh.
Reframing challenges.
This step is about shifting our perspective on challenges,
Okay.
viewing them as opportunities for growth
Mm-hmm.
rather than obstacles to success.
Mm.
Instead of seeing a setback as a failure,
Okay.
ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience?
Okay.
How can this make me stronger, more resilient, or better equipped to handle similar situations in the future?
It's about transforming our relationship with challenges, recognizing that they are an inevitable part of life
Yeah,
and that they can actually be valuable learning experiences.
absolutely.
But how do we actually reframe those negative thoughts and feelings when we're in the midst of a challenge?
It takes practice,
Okay.
but one helpful technique is to focus on the solution rather than the problem.
Mhm.
Instead of dwelling on what went wrong,
Yeah.
ask yourself, what can I do to move forward?
Mm,
What steps can I take to improve the situation?
that's a great tip. It's so easy to get bogged down in negativity when things aren't going our way.
It is.
But by focusing on solutions, we can regain a sense of control and momentum.
That's right.
Now, let's talk about experimentation,
Okay.
which sounds like a fun way to break free from conventional thinking.
Absolutely. Experimentation is about getting out of your head
Okay.
and into action,
Mm-hmm.
trying new things,
Yeah.
and seeing what works.
It's about giving yourself permission to play,
Right.
to explore different possibilities without fear of judgment or failure. Exactly.
But for people who are naturally risk-averse,
Yeah,
the idea of experimentation can feel intimidating.
it can.
How can we make it feel more approachable?
Start small.
Okay.
You don't have to make drastic changes overnight.
Right.
Think about one small area of your life
Right.
where you could experiment with a new approach.
Okay.
It could be as simple as trying a new recipe,
Mhm.
taking a different route to work,
Okay.
or having a conversation with someone you wouldn't normally talk to.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
It's about building our confidence and our capacity for experimentation gradually,
Yeah.
starting with small steps that feel manageable.
Right.
Now, let's talk about mindfulness,
Okay.
which can be such a powerful tool for breaking free from conventional thinking.
Mindfulness is all about being present in the moment,
Okay.
observing our thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Right.
It helps us become aware of those automatic thought patterns, those knee-jerk reactions that often stem from conventional thinking. So instead of getting swept away by those habitual thought patterns,
Right.
we can create space for conscious choice,
Exactly.
for a more considered and intentional response.
It's like hitting the pause button on autopilot,
Okay.
choosing a different path.
But for people who are new to mindfulness, it can feel a bit abstract.
It can.
Can you give us some practical tips
Yeah, sure.
for incorporating mindfulness into our daily lives?
Absolutely. One simple technique is to focus on your breath.
Okay.
Simply notice the sensation of your breath as you inhale and exhale.
Okay.
If your mind wanders,
Yeah.
gently guide your attention back to your breath.
Okay.
You can do this for a few minutes each day,
Mm-hmm.
or even just for a few breaths whenever you feel stressed or overwhelmed. Another helpful practice is to pay attention to your senses throughout the day.
Oh, okay.
Notice the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and textures around you.
I see.
This helps ground you in the present moment and break free from those looping thoughts that can keep us stuck in conventional thinking patterns.
Those are great tips. I especially love the idea of incorporating mindfulness into everyday activities.
These days.
It makes it feel much more accessible and sustainable.
Right.
Now, for our final step, surrounding ourselves with innovators.
Yeah.
This one is all about the power of community and influence.
Absolutely. If you're constantly surrounded by people who reinforce conventional thinking, it's going to be much harder to break free.
Right.
But if you're surrounded by people who challenge the status quo, who are constantly pushing boundaries and exploring new ideas, it inspires you to do the same.
It's like you're creating a supportive ecosystem for innovation.
Exactly.
Where you can share ideas, get feedback, and challenge each other to think differently.
I like that a lot.
But how do we actually find these innovators and build those connections?
Well, it starts with being intentional about the people you spend time with.
Okay.
Seek out individuals who inspire you, who challenge you to think differently.
Okay.
And who support your growth.
I see.
Attend industry events.
Okay.
Join online communities. And network with people outside your usual circles.
Those are great suggestions.
Yeah.
It's about being proactive and seeking out those who can help us expand our perspectives and push us to think outside the box.
Exactly.
This deep dive into the benefits and practical steps of breaking free from conventional thinking has been so insightful.
I agree.
It's clear that challenging those ingrained thought patterns can lead to increased creativity, adaptability, and better decision-making.
Right.
It can even spark positive change in the world around us.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to wrap up.
Okay, me too.
Okay, so we're back for our final part of this deep dive into breaking free from conventional thinking.
Sounds good.
It's been quite a journey so far. Exploring all these principles and benefits and practical steps.
Right.
What's really sticking with me is how interconnected everything is.
I see what you mean.
It's not just about having a eureka moment.
Right.
But about building a mindset that welcomes new ways of thinking.
That's a really good point.
You know, it's an ongoing process, not a destination.
I agree.
The Mindful Minutes podcast emphasizes this.
Oh, how so?
By reminding listeners that breaking free from conventional thinking isn't a one-time fix.
Right.
It's a commitment to continuously questioning, learning, and evolving.
It's like building a muscle.
Oh, I like that.
The more we practice challenging assumptions, embracing curiosity, seeking diverse perspectives, the stronger our ability to break free becomes.
It's not always easy.
It's not.
But the rewards are definitely worth the effort.
I agree.
So the podcast leaves us with a really powerful question.
But what's that?
To help us integrate this into our lives.
Okay, I'm listening.
They ask, what is one assumption you can challenge this week to unlock new possibilities in your life?
That is a great question.
So it could be an assumption about our abilities, our career paths, relationships, even our beliefs about the world.
I see what you mean.
You know, it's one area where we've been on autopilot, just accepting the status quo without questioning it.
It's an invitation to step outside of our comfort zones.
I like that.
And embrace the unknown. You know, to ask ourselves, what if? And see where that question leads us.
I love that.
It might feel a little unsettling at first.
Yeah, it might.
But that's often where the most exciting discoveries are made.
And think about the potential ripple effects.
Right.
When we challenge our own assumptions, we create space for others to do the same.
That's a good point.
It can spark conversations, inspire new ideas, lead to positive change that extends far beyond ourselves.
That's the beauty of breaking free from conventional thinking.
I agree.
It's not just about personal growth. It's about contributing to a world where innovation, creativity, and progress are valued and embraced.
I love that.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, take a moment to consider that question.
That's a good idea.
What is one assumption you can challenge this week to unlock new possibilities in your life?
Write it down, share it with a friend, and most importantly, take action.
I agree with all of those.
The world needs your unique perspective, your bold ideas, and your willingness to challenge the status quo.
Absolutely.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep breaking free.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.